Hey, I'm a plant cell,
And I'm an animal cell.
Yeah. And today we're going to be talking about the major differences and similarities between a plant cell and animal cell. And a major difference between us is that I have a cell wall, which is a supporting layer around the cell membrane, but an animal cell does not have a cell wall.
Also, animal cells have circular organelles called lysosomes, and lysosomes are enzymes that break down waste products inside the cell.
Plant cell has a chloroplast, which is the way we produce our own food through photosynthesis.
I'm an animal cell, so I have a organelle called a vacuole. And a vacuole is a organelle that's inside the cell that stores water and minerals. Because of an animal cell, mine are very small and only have one or two. But for an animal cell, they have something called the central vacuole. The central vacuole is basically the same thing except much, much bigger.
Okay. And the similarities between both a plant cell and animal cell is a nucleus, which controls all the cell's activities, and then there's
the cell membrane.
There's a cell membrane, which both of them have.
It's a flexible barrier around the cell that decides what goes in and what goes out.
And what holds all the organelles in both cells is the cytoplasm, which is like a jelly-like substance. And there's also the ER, the endoplasmic reticulum, which is where all the lipid and proteins are assembled and they transport throughout the cell.
Also, they both have Golgi bodies, which modify and sort and package proteins and other materials for storage and secretion.
Then there is the mitochondria, which converts chemical energy from food into compounds.
So they have the ribosomes that make proteins and the nuclear envelope that is the second layer around the nucleus.
The nucleolus, which is in the center of the nucleus, and in there the assembly of proteins are made.
Lastly, they both have cytoskeletons, which are a network of protein filaments in cytoplasm.
Hey, Plante. So, what's up? What you doing?
I'm making food for the entire living world. I convert the sun's energy into a usable form that all life can...
So, are you busy?
I'm cooking. I am very busy.
Okay, but I got this new video game, and it's a 2-player, so do you maybe want to stop being busy?
You know, Animalia, maybe if you helped me cook, we could...
No, not happening. I'm a heterotroph. I can't cook.
You can do anything if you set your mind to it.
I've burned water before.
I'm pretty sure that's scientifically impossible.
Well, too bad, because I found a way to burn water. I can't cook.
Get out.
Welcome, this is the Biology Game Show. I'm your show host, Eleanor Fulcher, and this is our lovely contestant,
Christina Nesbitt,
right.
Marietta, Georgia.
We're going to test her knowledge on biology. Alright, what organism is considered the powerhouse of the cell?
Mitochondria.
That is correct. 1 point for you. What is the function of carbohydrates?
To provide energy.
Yes. Good job. You're really good at biology. Name the organization levels from most broad to most specific.
Is it species to families?
No. The correct answer is kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and then species.
Ooh, dear.
Are all viruses living?
No.
Correct. What are the building blocks of proteins?
Amino acids.
Correct. What are the building blocks for lipids?
Building blocks for lipids. Those are fats. I don't remember.
They are fatty acids. You
Oh,
were
fatty
so
acids.
Close.
Oh, so close. Yeah, I
You're
can
so
remember
close. What is the difference between a rough ER and a smooth ER?
One's rough, one's smooth.
The rough one has ribosomes and the smooth one does not. Welcome to the Biology Game Show. I'm your host, Eleanor Fulcher, and this is our lovely contestant, Story Mason. Alright, Story. Question number 1. What organism is considered the powerhouse of the cell? Mitochondria. Correct. Alright, question number 2. Story. Are viruses alive? No. Correct. Good job.
Hey, protist, best buddy, best pal. What do you want, Animalia? I want you to play a video game with me. Doesn't that sound fun? I don't know. Protist is always indecisive. Oh, hey, wow. It's you, Bacteria. I didn't know you were here. You're so tiny and insignificant and unrecognizable. So about that video game. You know, I don't know. Like, I could, but at the same time, like, I shouldn't, I don't know, like, yeah. So, you, Bacteria, bestest buddy, bestest pal. Not after you called me tiny and insignificant. Great.
What is the function of lipids?
Lipids are chemicals, they're macromolecules that store long-term energy.
Explain what a cell wall is.
A cell wall is a structure that gives plants the integrity to support itself. That's why plants have stems and trunks and roots and things like that.
Name all the kingdoms.
All the kingdoms. The kingdoms are, let's see, bacteria. You have archaeobacteria and you have eubacteria. And then the other one is protista and fungi and plantae and animalia.
What is the function of proteins?
Proteins are structural and functional chemicals. They build things, they repair things, they make up things. They're really diverse.
This is the Biology Show Game Show. And I'm your host, Eleanor Fulcher. And this is my contestant, Carolina Barjas. Alright, Carolina, question number 1. What is the building blocks of lipids?
Fatty acids.
Correct. What are the building blocks of proteins?
Amino acids.
Correct. What is nucleic acid a building block for?
For DNA.
Name 3 organelles in the cell and their function.
The nucleus controls the cell's activities and contains the DNA. And the ribosomes are the ones that make the proteins. And then there's mitochondria, which is like the powerhouse of the cell.
Yay, good job.
Archaebacteria live life to the extreme! Extreme motorsports! Extreme car chases! Extreme environments! Extreme
to teach you how to read a cladiogram. This is the one we're using an example. All the way down here is the common ancestor. That means that all these organisms here are related to this common ancestor. However, the reason why these organisms are so different from each other and from the common ancestor is because over time, these species evolved and got different characteristics. So, for example, tissues. Everything past the tissue point, every organism past the point that says tissues means that all of these have that characteristic. However, anything below this characteristic means that they do not have it. So the sponge and the common ancestor do not have tissues. Also, this organism here is the closest to the common ancestor right here. So that means this organism is called the outgroup. Also, you can tell how similar a organism is to another organism by looking how close they are on the cladiogram. For example, a starfish is very far away from the common ancestor. That means the starfish has a lot different characteristics than the common ancestor does. However, a human and a starfish are right next to each other. That means that they have a lot of similar characteristics. So that means the human and the starfish are a lot similar and a lot closer on the evolutionary line than the starfish and the common ancestor. Now I'm going to talk to you about evolution. Evolution is the process by which different kinds of living organisms are thought to have developed and diversified from earlier forms during the history of the Earth. There are two kinds of evolution: punctuated equilibrium, and gradualism. Punctuated equilibrium states that a lot of evolutionary change takes place in a short period of time because of dramatic change in the environment. For instance, if a whole entire area is flooded, any organism that can't swim or doesn't thrive well in areas of a lot of water would die off. But any organism that can survive this environment would rapidly evolve so that they would be more suited for this environment. Now I'm going to talk about the different kinds of evidence of evolution. First, there are fossil records. Fossil records are things such as bones, prints, and preserved organisms that can be dated and used to derive information about that species. Next, there is protein sequencing. As you know, DNA is a long molecular chain that contains segments called genes, and the information inside genes codes for proteins. Well, these variations inside genes are used to determine how closely related species are. Then there is embryology. It states that if different species have similar development in their embryos, these species share a common ancestor. For instance, all mammals have similar development during the first 8 weeks of development. Then there is vestigial structures. Vestigial structures are structures that a species has, but the structures no longer have a relevant function. So, if they are removed, normal living isn't changed for that organism. So, if different species have the same vestigial structures, they are said to have a common ancestor. Lastly, there are homologous structures. Homologous structures are structures that have the same function. An example is human arms, bird wings, and fins.